Going on, guys? Welcome back to NABOR's Real Talk. My name is Cid Fernandez, your host for today. And as you guys have watched various episodes of Real Talk, we're getting to know the board, we're getting to know the staff, we're getting to know those people that are behind those curtains and doing all the wonderful things right here at NABOR, so you guys get all the value in your communities and your own businesses. Today, I'm humbled and I'm welcoming Mr. Stuart Tackett, Miss Marcie Roggow. I always get that mixed up. It's Roggow?
Roggow.
And Miss Danielle Hudson. So funny enough, guys, we've brought you guys together obviously as a redo because we had a shoot that we did earlier. We are going to say it out loud, and we had some technical difficulties. Why do I state that? Because no one's perfect, and even technology can fight against us. But it's great to have you guys back here again to be able to discuss and be able to interview you guys and be able to share not only your knowledge but your expertise and a little bit of your background into what brought you here to NABOR and to Naples. So let's just kick this off first. So Stuart, I'm gonna go right across the pond to here. So Stuart, you're not only just a director, but you're also heavily involved in the commercial, we'll say, division of NABOR as well as the governmental side. So tell us a little about yourself and what brought you to Naples and to NABOR.
My father was a commercial developer, and he was living down here, so that's why I moved down here. So I grew up obviously with commercial all around me, and got heavily involved with NABOR and enjoy being on the commercial committee and love government issues, and been in the business since 2003. I think I was first licensed in my hometown of Memphis.
So you said you love governmental issues. It's funny, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that, but that's great that you actually stated that, because now you're one of the few who put you on that list. So you said you came from Memphis prior?
Mm-hmm.
And so what were some of the differences for yourself, like coming from Memphis, coming to Naples? Because there's definitely a stark difference between the two. So what are some of the cool things that you noticed when you first moved down to Naples in comparison to Memphis?
That every day is a slow news day, whereas Memphis, the news is not a fun thing to watch. There's a lot of violence, and so it's a huge change, and I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, here it's like
slow news.
Here I feel like someone speeding over 5 miles an hour is what gets the headlines here, but Memphis is a little bit different.
Yes.
And how's the barbecue down here in comparison to Memphis?
I don't eat barbecue down here.
Good answer.
Not good.
Good.
Well, I bought a big green egg, so occasionally I do.
Ooh, I dig it. See the green egg. We're gonna come back to that at the end. So Marcie, for yourself, so where are you from originally?
I'm from the Midwest, South Dakota and Iowa.
So that's considered Midwest. So it's funny because when you hear Midwest, a lot of people talk about Kansas City, you hear those areas, but South Dakota is a little bit farther north. So you guys do consider the Dakotas Midwest. That's awesome. You don't meet many people from that area.
You don't know how many people say, "Where are you from?" And I say South Dakota, and they're like, "Oh, you're the first person I've ever met from South Dakota." I said, "Well, there are 5 of us."
So what brought you down to Naples originally from South Dakota?
The blizzards in South Dakota.
That I've heard plenty of.
I'm a national speaker trainer, and I was on the road about 235 days a year. And so I would need to fly in and out of Sioux Falls through Minneapolis and then go wherever I was going. And I flew back home one night in the middle of a blizzard and needed to leave the next day in the middle of the same blizzard. And after I got back home, I said, "Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. No, we're not doing it." And I had been coming to Naples to visit friends off and on during the winter, and my daughter was down here visiting her dad, and I said, "I'm going to come down and just see what's going on down there." And she informed me that if I wanted her to visit me when I was older, she would really need to have me move away from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So here I am.
It's amazing how many. It's amazing how many Napoleons. Is that what people say? Napoleons, Napolites, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's amazing how many of you guys find epiphanies in blizzards and snow. You get to come down to Naples, right? Mm-hmm. So for you, what was the biggest transition for yourself aside from shedding all your winter clothing?
Well, I still speak up in the north, so I still have to keep some of those. The biggest transition, and it's really funny, I've been talking to some people who are buying houses down here. I had to recover my furniture because it was northern colors, and I had to switch it to southern colors because it's all really expensive Ethan Allen type stuff, and you can't get that anymore, right? I mean, down stuffed cushions. So the upholsterers thought I was the most wonderful thing that ever had happened to them. So that was the biggest adjustment. Other than not having basements, And, you know, at my age, I have collected a lot of stuff, and I had a huge sale up north before I moved. But I also still have one storage unit. I am down to a 10 by 10, and then half of a double car garage. But having no place for stuff is the biggest transition.
That's, I mean, listen, as a veteran, having moved a lot, understanding what storage space is and having to reduce that and cut down, it's unbelievable how many things you can collect when you move. It's like, where did all this stuff come from? So I get it. The reupholstery stuff is obviously something I've never had to go through, but it's funny you said it. I've never heard anyone talk about having to reupholster because of colors. So can you, I want to stay on this just a little bit longer, but the colors, so tell me the difference between the colors of what you guys had up in the north in comparison to here.
I had a red couch with little gold flecks in it, and the matching chair was red with gold dragonflies, and my wingback chairs were rust and burgundy and grayish and golds. That's not Florida at all, at all. And I just was talking to another trader friend of mine, Jackie Leavenworth, is moving from Ohio here now permanently. And they are selling everything in their house. They're having this huge estate sale. And I looked at it, and it was green velvet couch, brown chairs. And I said, isn't that amazing? You can't bring any of that with you because it looks like crap in our Florida houses, right? Well, I wasn't willing to give that. I gave up a lot of my antiques, but not all of them. So I still look a little northern. But so I just said, you know what? You can't replace this furniture, so it's just going to get recovered. So that's what happened.
I think it's a very, very smart route. I think people, you know, obviously get rid of things, probably mostly just because they don't want to carry with it because the distance is so big. But it's funny you did that because I think it's a great idea to just reupholster it, make it look where you're at right now. Probably saves a ton of money.
And comfortable.
Oh, absolutely.
You go try to buy good furniture today, you'll spend much more money than recovering it.
I could not agree more. Now that we've talked about furniture, now we're going to get to Miss Danny Hudson over here, the VP of Public Policy.
All right.
So Danny, you and I have had some really fun conversations in the last couple of years, getting to know you a little bit more, coming from your background, because you have a very interesting one. So let's talk a little bit about what you were doing prior to taking this position at NABOR.
Sure. So I am a Rhode Island native, so I come from the Northeast. And at the time, well, I would say about a year before I moved down, I was working as a social worker in a group home for girls, and then had transitioned over to become a case manager in a homeless shelter for women and children, where our goal was to reunite the family and find them stabilized housing. Prior to that, I was working at the United States Naval War College as kind of like a research fellow position. But Cid, I graduated from my master's program at the height of the Great Recession, and my master's program is in National Security Studies. So needless to say, there really wasn't a lot going on in Rhode Island, but I had undergraduate degrees in psychology and political science, and so that's what I was doing before I came down to
It's like
Florida.
a CVS receipt going down there.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me because I knew this about you obviously prior to today's interview, but going into the position that you are now, which is obviously the VP of Public Policy, and really focusing on that, where are the connection points for you and what you've learned through all the different degrees and all the different education that you've gone through? How was that connection, and why did that entice you to take this role?
So when I was an undergraduate, I had done a stint in the Senate in DC, and I had realized right away that I did not want to be a legislative aide in the Senate, but through that job, I learned a lot about how the process works and how policy is drafted. And so I would say that's probably the cleanest link in between what I've done in the past and what I do now. But I'll tell you what, in my work in social work, there's a lot of advocacy that I was doing for the women and the girls that I was working for. We would have to go to court, we would have to work with their other social workers, we would have to work with lawyers in some cases to ensure that the reunification program that we were working for, particularly with the women and children, was going to go the way that we were hoping that it would go. And so I would say that was probably another link, because what I do for y'all here is a lot of advocacy work and direct lobbying of your legislators or different people that are within that process.
And she does it very, very well. Lord have
you.
mercy, I've seen her on the phone just walking by, and the face. It's funny, Danny seems like this sweetheart, right? When she's sitting right here next to you, when you're in conversation, when she gets that phone call, and that phone call, it's crazy. The face changes, the laser focus. It's like Superman when he just discovers his powers. It's like you almost have the eye beams just to get away and just move and just say hello to her to kind of bring the stress down. But going into and taking it from what you're doing now, each and every one of you guys has a very big role in government affairs right here at NABOR. For you, Stu, what was really a focal point for you? What made Govy so important to you personally in the personal side as well as your business?
I like to be informed, and Govy, we have people from the county that come in, and I'll go to my office and talk to a colleague. People have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about, because they're not always informed, and that's what I like most about it. It's just being informed of what's going on, and it absolutely affects commercial and residential, and allied it affects everyone. The things that happen here in the county and the city and statewide and so on.
No, I couldn't agree more. And in the time that you've been here, because you said, was it 03?
I moved down here in 2005.
In 2005? So from 2005, that's about 17 years. How have you seen the progression or the advancement of how government is done here? Like, have you seen improvements? Have you seen where you're really starting to see a shift for the positive? Like, what are things that you're seeing?
I don't know if I would say there's been a major shift. I mean, obviously, it's grown a lot. Some of the infrastructure has certainly grown. Some areas, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It is.
We got a 4-lane road, now it's 16 or something. Like Collier 41 comes to mind. That used to be absolutely dead out there. I don't know how many lanes it is now, but
it's not. I mean, we live out in the Estates, and for us to see how much is changing, and I've only lived here since 18, and to see the changes from 18 to today.
Wow.
Exactly, and you see it, it's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Now, Marcie, for yourself, what's been your biggest connection? Like, what drives you to be so involved in the governmental side here locally?
Well, I've been a realtor now for 48 years. And so when I was board president back up north in 1985, I got involved with the political and governmental affairs stuff up there. And then in 1992, I started serving on the political action committees throughout NAR. And we used to have a program called Realtors Active in Politics. It was called RAP. I tried to renew RAP 100 times and apparently can't get it done. But that was, instead of people investing money into RPAC, they would invest their time into RAP. And so we would go out and get people to help on campaigns and that kind of thing. So I was involved, I like to say I cut my teeth on governmental affairs when I got into the business, because a lot of it had to do also with regulations and law affecting real estate practice. And so that's where my concentration is watching legislation that affects the real estate industry. And for the past 2 years, I've had the pleasure of serving as Bob Rummel's contact person for the board. And so following along with that and going up to Tallahassee and talking to them about the issues that are important to us. And we just need to keep getting our members more involved so that they understand why we do the things we do and the decisions that we make. And we've got the greatest little spearheader right here. And if you ever see her like down at city council or at the county commissions, if we filmed it, we could send it to Hawaii or send it to Hollywood, and she would become a star in some movie, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. And but that's been well worth getting involved when you've got somebody who's so good, because then you know you're working diligently for the same result.
There's most definitely a motivation level when you have someone that's so dedicated to it and so passionate about it. I mean, honestly, like,
Right.
it's passionate about it.
Thanks, guys.
You're quite welcome. No way. This is actually, she's going to be running for office, and we're just
No.
just kidding. Just kidding.
no, we want her here.
No.
That's not in the wheelhouse.
So we're gonna. So if she does run for office, we're gonna tank it. We're gonna put money in the other people, so she stays. No. What's what I found very, very interesting, and again, being in real estate for the last 4 years, I have found it very intriguing that the majority of people within our space have no clue what's going on governmentally and policy wise.
Yep.
And it's astonishing, because I think we end up forgetting that it's really the laws that allows us to do what we do, and it affects us, whether it's short-term rentals or it's long-term rentals, where it's zoning, whatever it may be. And that understanding that piece, I almost feel that we're not allowing ourselves to grow and to serve our communities in the best light without that information. And I have seen NABOR in these last 2 years really put a major focus. And again, it could be a change in who was heading that department, but that's definitely something I think that we're starting to see that change here. And it's a great thing to see, because
I think a lot of people focus on national news and they don't realize how important the city council is and the county commissioners.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
they're the ones that really affect our business here locally.
I couldn't agree more. I think our backyard, if we tend to focus and put a lot of our focus on the backyards of others rather than our own backyards. And again, federally, there's only so much that we can do here at our local level, but we have so much more impact when we're doing right here. And I think that each of you guys can agree with that. If going out, learning, meeting the candidates, understanding exactly what they fight for and what they stand for, I think is huge, because sometimes we do just blanket ourselves under a specific party or side or color or animal, and then it's rather than, why don't you focus on what the policies that you're setting in place rather than the side in which, I know Danny's like, she's like biting at the gums right now to get in,
No, I
but
hadn't thought of the
I think it's
animal.
huge.
I haven't thought of the animal part, but it's so right? You have the donkey and the elephant. That's just
Well, and I think
It
the
is.
other thing that a lot of our members probably don't know is that we don't just sit on a committee and listen to speakers. For example, the primary. We're all out in that 98-degree weather, holding signs all day long, working for the candidates that we supported. And we don't just support them. Stu and I have been so fortunate to be able to sit on a committee that interviews the candidates, and then to come up after listening to them on secret ballot to decide who's the person we think would be best suited to represent our members. And then we go out and we work hard for them. So I wish that our members knew that a little bit more, and this year we really wish that we could have gotten more of them to help and participate and to be there. So maybe we can do that on the general election. But we need people to, you know what happened, you said it, until it hits your backyard, you don't have any interest. And so until some of these issues that we've been fighting hit our agent's backyard, they won't have any interest. So.
And it is strictly real estate questions we ask.
Real
That's all we
estate,
care
period.
about.
Again, because the focus here obviously at NABOR is obviously the real
Right.
estate side of things, and at the end of the day, you're not going to this cold. You know, people have already laid the foundational work, the first bricks to be able to walk you through getting into government. So whether you're someone who's never dealt with policy in government in the real estate side or otherwise,
Yep.
don't be afraid. There's people here who can actually hold your hand and walk you through it because they've been doing it. They've been doing the legwork for you. So don't ever fear that you're going in this cold. There's a battle buddy with you that you can go into it and learn this. And it's important to us. And the time is now. It's never tomorrow. It's today. So that's all right. Awesome. We got that out of the way. I feel energized. So we've talked about government. We talked about a little bit about where you guys come from. So let's get into something a little bit fun. So what is something that when you guys got here, because each and every one of you guys come from a different part of the country, that just brought you happiness when you got to Naples? We all come here with a preconceived notion of wherever you move to. I've moved 9 times over. But what was that moment where you're like, man, this is definitely home for me? I may come from somewhere else, but this is home for me. Go right ahead, Stu. Not the barbecue, we know that.
I do miss my barbecue. I will say that. But other than that, no, I like the lifestyle. Just the people here are very friendly, and largely it's the people, honestly. The weather's great. Obviously, Memphis is about just the same in summer, except we don't have a breeze. So I was kind of used to that already. But then, in the wintertime, obviously it's just, I remember when the first cold fronts came in when I moved down here, just being in heaven, loving it.
Cold front at 60 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Cold front. There's nothing in the back. It's just cold in the front.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
What about yourself, Marcie?
Well, when I moved down here, I was still on the road a lot. So I'd be gone for a week or 10 days, and then I would come home. And my elderly neighbor, who had become a really dear friend of mine, the minute she knew I was hitting the door, she said, "Where are we going for sunset tonight?" And I thought that's all you did in Naples was go for sunset. So we would check out all these places, because she hadn't had anybody to do that with, And she was like 80 years old, and she always had it planned where we were going to go. And I thought, well, that's what we do. We go for sunset. And that's when I would take pictures and I'd say, "Oh, I'm home." And on Facebook, how you can go back and see the memories. There are so many of them that is a sunset picture going, it's so good to be home.
Nice.
That's actually a really awesome response. By the way, like that was really awesome. Home is such an interesting word.
Yep.
And we use it a lot, but I don't think we realize how profound that word is. And it's something that, again, being someone in the service that traveled a lot, I think I lived in, again, 9 different places. And each and every place you go to is your little home. But when you come somewhere like this where you can finally set roots down, which is something I avoided my entire adult life, I look back and say, holy smokes, like I planted my roots in the right place. Like this is most definitely home. So that was actually really beautiful, Marcie. Well done.
Thank you.
We're gonna put that on a Hallmark card. Danny, what about yourself?
So I came down to Naples in 2012. So you have my background of what I was doing up in Rhode Island. I was working as a social worker. When I came down in 2012, I actually took a job working in trade compliance. I'm also a licensed customs broker. You can just add that to my CV. But the first check that I ever got, I opened it and I looked at it and I realized there was no income tax that had been taken out of it. So I brought it to my husband and I said, they made a mistake on my check, so I'm gonna go cash this before they realize what they did. And I know that sounds like awful, but that is exactly what I said. And he's like, Danny, we don't have any income tax in Florida. And I was like, sold, I'm home. This is the place for me. And then shortly thereafter, I got to shop for a Christmas tree and shorts and flip-flops with my hair and my side pony. And I was just loving life. And it's just been great, like raising kids here and not having to like shovel snow or do that window scraper thing. Although I held on to my window scraper for like a good 10 years. I just couldn't let it go.
Yeah, I threw mine away maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah,
It was like a
finally let
binky.
go.
It was like a
It
binky. You
was.
just
It
like
was kind
holding
of
on
like,
to it just to
you know.
make you feel more comfortable in case of anything.
But the income tax thing really, that was like, I'm here for life.
Very sentimental.
And see, I moved from a no income tax state, so it was no big deal moving in.
You didn't realize
Yeah.
the extra money
Yeah.
you had.
Yeah, all 5 of you guys just, it was the same thing when you guys.
Yeah.
Tennessee doesn't have either, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well then definitely as a New Englander, if there's other New Englanders out there, you're feeling me right now.
So every time I meet someone from Rhode Island, you guys ever watched SNL growing up, like Saturday Night Live? You guys remember, oh my God, Coffee Talk
Coffee
with
Talk.
Linda Richmond?
Yeah.
She had that one thing of Rhode Island. It's like, Rhode Island is not a road, nor an island, discuss. All I can think about every time you said Rhode Island. That's all I can think about.
It's not Long Island, it's not Staten Island. We actually are our own state. It's called Rhode Island. We took the land from Massachusetts Bay Colony and Connecticut back in 1637. We do exist.
But who's
there.
counting?
And you have great lobster.
Well, that's actually probably Maine, but we are called the Ocean State. We have great, like, beautiful views of the
Yep.
ocean.
Yes, for those who don't know geography, Rhode Island is an actual state. So you've now been informed, the more you know.
Dun, 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 dun.
There you go. So what are you guys' hobbies? So I know for one, kickboxing is one. That's part of the reason why when she goes into certain meetings, people understand her hobby is kickboxing, so they know not to mess with Danny. But aside from kickboxing, what are other things that you actually love to do right here?
So it's not really a hobby. I love spending time with my children, first and foremost. But for most of my life, I'm classically trained in ballet, so I do jump into a class every once in a while. I did take up kickboxing this year, and most recently I picked up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just because I wanted to work on my ground game. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And there's actually a lot of synergy between ballet, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing, more than you would think.
Well, ballet was actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Reggie Bush, who was a football player in the NFL, obviously very well known. If I remember correctly, he took ballet for years.
Oh, yeah.
For
Wow.
balancing purposes. And though it's not discussed a lot, the amount of balance that it's gained from ballet and that art form is unbelievable. I think there's actually other mixed martial artists that have dabbled in it for that one purpose. So anybody who, I don't know if I can rock a tutu, maybe, and a leotard, but for those, don't ever knock it if you ever see a man doing ballet, because there's so many benefits to it. So thank you for stating that connection.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Marcie? What are things that you love to do right here in Southwest Florida?
Well, I happen to be raised by a man who was an absolutely fabulous gourmet cook. And so from a very early age, cooking has been what I do. And it's been a little bit different down here than it was up north, because I had family all around. So there were always big, huge family events and all the cooking and all of that sort of stuff. So, but I still do a lot of cooking. And I'm primarily known for my martinis. So I even have the domain name Marcie's Marvelous Martinis.
Triple M? That's like a triple threat. Wait. So, what's your go-to martini? Let's dive in.
Oh, well, my go-to is actually, I have two of them. I like just a Grey Goose.
Like double fist, two of them.
That's been known to happen.
That's for balancing purposes. That's all you need ballet to do a balance both classes.
Known to happen. But I like lemon drop. But then, see, the reason this became a thing was as you travel around the country and you're speaking at all these different organizations, they always are taking you out for dinner and you're always doing wonderful things. And so I was in Hawaii. I used to do a round trip of all the islands in Hawaii every 4 years, and this year I'm doing it via Zoom. It just irritates me. But I might have to, but they make in Hilo, at the Hilo Bay Cafe, the most magnificent ginger martini you've ever tasted in your life.
Oh, it's so interesting.
So it's so good, so good. But during COVID, our Florida Realtor president, Barry Grooms, started a happy hour group. And we were all on Zoom, and he was making his marvelous margarita. And so he made a couple of those shows, and then we were all supposed to join in. So mine were my marvelous Marcie's Marvelous Martinis, and somebody would make something else. And that's kind of how that whole thing got started in Florida.
That's awesome. That's not something that's awesome, Marcie.
I'm not so sure that somebody didn't say we should probably stop that because it abruptly stopped.
Clearly, Cid and I were not invited to the martini group because we had no idea what was going on.
I didn't have an M in my name, so.
Well, it's because he lives up on Anna Maria Isle, so it's the Anna Maria Isle Drinking Club.
Oh.
And it's still on. You can go to their Facebook post.
Just go to the website below. Okay, don't worry, Marty. You'll be marvelous too, my friend, when you watch this video. So, what about yourself, Stu?
I am a music fanatic. That's my real passion in life. Play guitar, bass guitar, and then on weekends, build electric guitars and basses.
Ooh, wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Are you still doing that now?
I got some new pickups in today, so I've already started the build. It's going to be a 4-string electric bass guitar.
Wow, you
So-
gonna play for us?
That's gonna be the next. That's gonna be the next video.
Yeah, next video.
But so you said you play bass guitar, right? So what music or what genres of music are really like your jam?
I'm all over the place. I don't like, there's stuff I certainly don't like. Pretty much anything you turn on the radio today I don't like. I think if you're using a MacBook, you're not a musician. That's just me. But no, honestly, kind of the whole gamut. I like all sorts of music.
You have the hair for it, my man. Like you've just got that look. Like, dude, this guy's gonna whip out his guitar and just go jamming. I love it. I've never heard anybody state this about you, Stu. We're cracking the Stu code now. You see that? That's amazing. Now I'm actually very intrigued. Do you ever film yourself, or do you ever create content and when you're building your guitars out? Because I find that very, very interesting, because that's an art form in itself as well.
I'll probably take more photos this time. I usually haven't in the past, but
I think that's great.
You should put that stuff on Insta.
The top wood of the body's from my lychee tree that I lost like a third of in Irma, and the wood's gorgeous.
Oh,
That is
wow.
so you actually source your own wood on this too as well?
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing, man. Like,
Do you sell them?
No.
oh, you just keep them to yourself? Oh, okay, now you're just hoarding.
We could auction
I'm just
one
kidding.
for our pack.
Seriously?
No, honestly, I thought I would never sell it. If I were going to do it, if I thought it was good enough, I would donate it like for an auction or something.
That's amazing, and now you just opened it up to every committee who's looking for some money to look towards you to find something to auction off.
Very time
So congratulations. We'll just black this part out so they don't hound you, man. So listen, guys, we're kind of coming towards the tail end of the video. You guys have been awesome in sharing in your backgrounds and the things that you love, because again, never knew about that. Marcie, obviously you and I, our communication is very minimal, but the fact you have marvelous martinis out there, I'm a little upset that I haven't felt and tasted them yet, but that's okay. It's neither here or there, and that the fact is that you're taking on all these different ground and pounds. So all you city council members and everybody out there, just watch out. Miss Hudson's coming with a fury.
With her kickbucks.
One thing I love to ask you guys at this table is, what's the one thing that you would promote to any new member, any real estate professional that's looking to put their license somewhere? When they look at NABOR, what's the one thing that you think stands out? I'm gonna start with Danny.
The one thing that stands out for me coming from the staff side is how willing NABOR staff is to help its members get to wherever it is they want to go. whether that's me on the government side. Actually, I will say that members have been absolutely pivotal in many of the issues that we've taken up just by coming in and darkening my doorway and letting me know kind of what they're seeing, maybe sometimes before I'm even seeing it. But also just in terms of like my friends and other staff members in membership and just the lengths I think that the staff will go through to ensure that whatever the committees are coming up with, that they make that a reality.
Yeah, I agree.
I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
I could not agree more. What about yourself, Marcie?
I will tell you that I think it's one of the most welcoming associations that I've ever been involved in, and I've been involved with a lot of them. Mainly because if you come here and you don't know anybody, there will be somebody who will find you and go and introduce you around to absolutely everybody. And I think that we all know who some of those people are, but they're the connectors, and they will make sure. But what I would say to anybody coming in, if you don't feel welcomed, it's because you haven't come and tried to be welcomed. And there's so much that you can do here. We've got the committee sign up coming up on October 6th, and I would encourage anybody who wants to know more about NABOR to be sure to come October 6th for the committee sign up program.
No, I couldn't agree more to that point. I think in the last couple of years, they made it even more a priority to make NABOR feel like it's a part of the neighborhood. Yep. It's really something that was important to them because value is value, but really it's the way someone feels. There's an ultimate value to that you can't put an evaluation to it. And they've really made that a point with the people who they've appointed over us, the leaders that they've put in place, whether it's by committee, in directors or the staff, and you feel that nonstop. It's now this just welcoming place. It's warm when you come in. It's the smiles, and there's nothing like that when you walk into this place. What about you, Stu?
I think the events we have, we get so many people from different boards that come here and they're like, we don't do anything at our board. But we'll drive all the way down to Naples because you guys are just on it. You know, the content you have, we're not getting, I'm not going to say any names, but and they get it here. And so, I mean, I think that's a huge compliment when you have people willing to drive 45 minutes an hour because of something we're doing here that they're not doing somewhere else.
I couldn't agree either because you guys, there's been this, again, there was events that were done prior to, and again, speaking from someone who only has 4 years in this area, but there was definitely some good events then, but even now, they've put even more attention to detail. The people they've put in place, like Melissa, like Wade, and the others that are in the staff in the back, have really made it a point to make these events not just something where people go and have a beverage, but a place where people are engaging in conversation. You leave there always with a brand new relationship. And I think that's huge. That's huge because that's the only way that we grow. That's the only way we have these connection points to one another. And then going back to your point with the committee, and she mentioned October 6th, guys, we all have complaints about things in our lives, but if we're not entrenching ourselves and putting our hands in to help mold it, then really it's just hot air.
Be part of the solution.
Be part of something. Be part of the community. Be part of the board. Be part of the changes that you want to see forward. Because again, if we're just sitting back, then there's no reason for you guys to have a platform. We want you guys a part of it. This right here, it's not a committee, but this right here is something we love to do because we want to present it to you. We want you guys to understand what NABOR means to us and what it should mean to you. So, guys, I just want to say thank you again. Obviously, it's our second shoot, and obviously we had some fun. Thank you guys for presenting yourselves to the members and to those that are watching now. Thank you once again for watching and to continue watching. And for those that came out to see NABOR's new logo release, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for your support. And as we always log off, please keep going and being well to yourselves, be good to others, and make this the best day. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
That's it.